there is something called the International Declaration of Human Rights, which says that food, housing, and clothing are the basic necessities of life, and too many people are, under our current system, are being deprived of these things, and it's a disgrace to what we call a democracy.
My name is Sue Sussman, and I live in Central Park Gardens, which is a former Mitchell-Lama rental building. Now it's mainly rent stabilized on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And I'm real lucky to live here, but we've got some problems. And the problems are that those of us who are living here at affordable rents are an endangered species. The laws that control our living here are controlled by Albany. And those rent laws expire on June 15th, 2015. Now, the problem right now is that landlords make a whole lot more money renting to market rate tenants, whatever the market will bear, than they make renting to rent-regulated tenants. And so we need to protect rent-regulated tenants so landlords don't have an incentive to get us out of our apartments and not let our children stay living in the apartments where they were raised. So there are about 1 million rent-regulated apartments right now in New York City. And that means about 2.5 million tenants who have rent stabilization or rent control or Mitchell-Lama rental coverage or Section 8 or something similar. And most of those laws are up for renewal. Now the problem that we have is that if the rent laws are renewed just as is, we're going to lose tens of thousands of apartments a year. That's because landlords get a bonus every time an apartment is vacant. And because they know that if an apartment is vacant and they can claim the rent is at least $2,500 a month, they can take it out of rent regulation permanently. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to get rid of the incentives by repealing vacancy deregulation, so landlords can't deregulate an apartment just because it's empty. We need to get rid of those bonuses that landlords get just for getting an apartment empty. Boy, does that lead to some harassment. And we need to get rid of the things that raise the rents so high that tenants living there can't afford to stay. Now, we need to pressure Albany to do that. So who gets the pressure? Well, generally, the people who make the laws in Albany are three men in a room. You got Governor Cuomo, we have John Flanagan, who's the new majority leader in the state Senate, and we have Carl Hastie, who is the new Speaker of the New York State Assembly. And those three men are going to be in a room, and they're going to make the laws for us. So we have to tell them in no uncertain terms what we, the tenants, need. Albany is supported in part by money, but really it's controlled by votes. And while the Real Estate Board of New York has all the money, we have the majority of the people. And so we have to get out there and really persuade those legislators that it's time for them to do the right thing and strengthen rent regulation now.
Today, on our way to Albany today, we really want to make a stand at the governor's office for strengthening the rent laws in New York City, and really are here with advocates of affordable housing as well. There is no more affordable housing, and the current rent laws are really making it impossible for people, middle-class people, to live in the city. We want to see the rent laws strengthened, and we want to see Governor Cuomo stand up for tenants. He's taken $1 million from one of the big real estate corruptors, and we want to see him stand up for tenants, strengthen those rent laws. Don't just pass them the way they were. They need to be strengthened.
Yeah, man, I'm just here trying to fight for affordable housing. I'm going up to Albany. I'm ready to get arrested. You know, I live in Washington Heights. I pay $1,100 a month for rent. I don't make enough to afford that. You know, the head of the state senate, the head of the state assembly, both got indicted, had to step down from their post because they was corrupt. They was accepting bribes from landlords. And you know, now the new ones that's in there, they still haven't done what they need to do to guarantee that we got affordable housing, to guarantee that we got rent stabilization extended. You know, we're still dealing with the 421A tax break that's giving tax subsidies to landlords and millionaires instead of, you know, working people like you and me. So that's why I'm out here. You see, I'm out here with people of all races, all nationalities, and we got one message that New York needs to be for working people. You know, when you see the Statue of Liberty and that whole message that say, give us your poor, give us your hungry, give us your huddled masses, you know, that's the symbol of a refuge. That this is a place where people from across the world who's struggling, trying to make a better life, are supposed to be able to come here. And we know that that's not always been the case, but to the extent that it is true is because people have fought for it. And we out here today just to continue that fight. And we're about to get on the bus to continue that fight. So I'm gonna see y'all in Albany and keep the struggle going.
We are going up today to tell the governor and the state legislature that New York City tenants need stronger rent laws. And some of us are going to be risking arrest and performing civil disobedience in order to bring that message on behalf of 2.3 million of us, 2.3 million rent stabilized tenants.
We're on a bus today going to Albany to send a strong message to Governor Cuomo that his position on the rent laws is unacceptable. He's calling for a straight renewal of the rent laws, which is what the landlords want. We're seeking repeal of vacancy decontrol and other important strengthening provisions of the rent laws. As long as vacancy decontrol remains in effect, landlords have a huge incentive to evict people, harass them, and displace them, because they can make a windfall by getting rid of rent-regulated tenants and letting those apartments go to market rate. So we need Governor Cuomo to stand on the side of tenants, fight for repeal of vacancy decontrol, and for stronger rent laws. So Governor Cuomo, you can't hide. We know you're on the landlord side. We're coming to send you a message today.
I'm here because New York is the city that I love, the place that I call home, and I'm tired of seeing it being dominated by capital interests and big business. And I want to see the politicians in Albany doing something for the poor and the low-income people in New York, more affordable housing.
We are fighting today to improve the rent laws, which are really no good. And the rent laws as they exist now are resulting in the elimination of people in our neighborhood who cannot afford the rents that are being charged now by landlords. As we lose our rent-stabilized apartments, the rents are going beyond the means of people in our neighborhood. And what's happening now is the gentrification is huge.
Hold it now. Shut 'em There's a corruption in our politics that involves people getting indicted. But as Zephyr Teachout, who's here with us, likes to say, there's also an everyday corruption to our politics that gives the voices of a few hundred people more power than the voices of millions of New Yorkers.
That ain't right.
We're here today to say that needs to stop. In the issue of rent, this is affecting people's lives. There's a human cost with people who can't put nutritious food on the table. When you are paying 40, 50, 60% of your income in rent, this is a family-destroying impact. This is causing homelessness. So we're here today to take the act of civil disobedience to send a message to the governor. The governor that many of us endorsed a year ago. We're here to send a message to him that we are tired of the political games on education tax credits, on NYCHA roofs, and on rent regulation. We're tired of the political games. We want you to think about the human cost to your actions. Rent regulations, strengthening our rent laws, closing these loopholes, these giveaways is a must. We need action and leadership now.
It's important that we make it clear that we are getting arrested today for the right reason. For the right reason. You know, my colleague Senator Espeon has this clock ticking behind us, and it is such a powerful statement of what is happening here. The clock is ticking on rent regulations.
Right.
We're talking about tens of thousands of homes being deregulated. Tens of thousands of New Yorkers who depend on affordable housing losing their homes. We have to do something about it before the session ends, before that clock stops.
You know, the rent laws are a large part of what enables New York City to be what it is. It is what holds our communities together. It is part of the fight for social justice in New York, along with the fight for decent wages for working people, for good schools for working people and their families, so New Yorkers can all rise together.
There are 2.5 million New Yorkers that are counting on the strengthening of the rent laws. A straight renewal is not good enough. Our political system is awash with real estate money. They may have the money, but we have the people. So today, I stand with my colleagues in government and many advocates and activists that have traveled up here who are going to get arrested in the name of civil disobedience, which is done in the name of social and economic justice. I look forward to continuing the fight. Governor Cuomo, can you hear us?
There is no surprise as to what's going on in my district. If you go to Maria Hernandez Park, you will see homeless people living there now.
That ain't right.
That is not right. My mom told me, if you ever get arrested, make sure it's for one of your kids, or you make sure that it's for a good cause. And today is the day that I chose to get arrested because that is my children and my grandchildren's future as yours.
You gotta fight. If it ain't right, you gotta fight. The status quo has got to go. 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 The real estate developers and the landlords are the robber barons of today. The status quo has got to go. The status quo has got to go. Everyone who spoke before me has said it all. I came to get arrested, not to make a speech. Let's go get arrested ASAP. look, we've been in this struggle. We're going to continue in this struggle, right? 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 This is the struggle of making sure we get our share. We can't let folks have their homes and lose their homes. What's the point of having an apartment? You can't keep your apartment. What's the point of having a chance if you can't have that dignity? This is the reason why we do this. For those of us that have been in this, from the Bronx, Harlem, Brooklyn, all different spaces across the city, across the country, this is us saying right now, this is our chance for justice, for fairness. So much respect to Jamani, to Corey, to Holman, to Davila, to Adriano, to all the champions that have been out here in this journey right now. Much respect to NYCC. Much respect to Tennis Power. Much respect for everybody that stands up right now. For the voices of those that are not here, we're standing up for the voice of the voiceless. That's the reason why we do this right now. And you elect us to stand up for you, so we stand up for you. So whether it be the Bronx or Brooklyn, Manhattan, wherever it may be, we are all in this together right now. So we have your back. So for those that came up for the council, much respect. For those that came up for the city, well, we stand up for y'all. We stand up with y'all. This is to make sure we're going to do what's right. We're not leaving here until we get rent rags. Make sure we're doing it for the people right now. This is not for the developers. This is for the people. This is not for them. This is for the people. This is for that mother, that father, that son, that daughter that's trying to figure out will they have a home right now. We can't leave here without making sure there's stronger rent laws. What's the point of making sure you have an apartment if you can't keep that apartment? So much love, much respect. Let's make sure we get this done. Much respect, everybody.
If we take it to a rent strike, if we refuse to give the landlords the money, if we refuse to give the landlords the power, we will win.
Never underestimate the power of the people united. Never underestimate the power of the people united.
What you got to say? Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight!
What was the process like?
It was simple. Pretty efficient. Respectful.
How many times you gone through this?
Oh, I countless. I'm looking forward to the next one. As long as there's a cause, there'll be another one.
So you think it was successful today?
I think it was extraordinarily successful. I think that there's a great applause to all the organizers and all the participants, all the constituents that came out and supported us not only on site but off site by calling in and being encouraging. And I think that the governor got a message and realizes, I hope, that he's got some trouble. Sí se puede! Sí se puede! Sí se puede! Sí se puede!
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, well, we just got released from the slammer, actually. They didn't put us in jail. 55 of us got arrested protesting the governor outside the governor's office on the second floor of the state capitol building, and we're hoping that this will put some pressure on Andrew Cuomo so that he will actually support stronger rent protection laws.
Hi, I'm Councilmember Lori Cumble, representing the 35th Council District, which is Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Prospect Heights, Crown Heights, and parts of Bedford-Stuyvesant. When we think about those are the areas where gentrification is taking place, where rent stabilization is of the utmost importance. We have to make sure that we send a loud and strong message that we are not going to allow our residents and our tenants to be displaced. Particularly so many communities of color who help to build and shape New York City. It's important that we as elected officials come together and fight for their rights. And for them to know that this is not an issue that we take lightly, we have to send them a strong message all throughout New York State. We have to strengthen our rent laws and make sure that our tenants are protected.
I'm happy to be here. It's the least that we can do to fight for rent regulations. People who came before us fighting for social justice issues went through a whole lot more. So hopefully we'll keep it coming. We got to make sure that Cuomo hears us.
You know, Cuomo already starting to make some concessions, but he ain't done what we need. People getting pushed out their houses, people is homeless in New York. We're going to stop till we get the rent low until we get rent stabilization extended. So we about to come back up here on the 9th. We about to flood Albany, so we're going to see you up there. Right? Hopefully not TV all day, baby.
All you can scare us to stick together, save our homes now, despite the weather. All you can scare us to stick together, the fight is won.
The only change that has ever come throughout history in our country is through people power, through organization, through people coming together to demand change. Because housing and affordable housing is a right. It is not a privilege. There is no shame in being a moderate income family. There is no shame in sending your children to public school. From the moment that we sign leases, we are legally bound. We are protected. We pay the rent. We take care of each other. We look out for each other. But the fact is that there's pressures growing, mounting with the entire neighborhood. And in fact, they're trying to really take Manhattan and just make it a wealthy person's playground.
Hey, my name is John Bones Rodriguez. I was born and raised here in New York City, where I live with my wife. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, where did you grow up? And I tell them this so that they understand. I live in the apartment I was conceived in. One of the more fascinating things, though, is that I recently had a baby. My wife and I just had our son, Pike, and he now was conceived in the same place I was. I love living here, and I love that my child lives here. What I don't love is that we have a new owner who seems bent on using every little loophole and bending the law that he can to get us out.
When this building was purchased by the new owner and the corporation that funds him, what they have done successfully through their lobbying is to turn the leasing process where people don't own their apartments but lease them. And this has been the backbone of the emerging middle class, the working poor, the working class individuals who work and live in the community to have a place where they could live and enjoy the fruits of their efforts. They have corrupted that. Many of the tenants in this building are definitely afraid of not having a place to live in the city of New York. What hope is there for the working middle class in this community? What hope is there for the working middle class in America? Because part of the American dream is that if you work hard and you have a work ethic and you manage to get yourself educated and you educate your children, that they will be able to enjoy the fruits of your efforts and their efforts for their children. People must rule, must control, influence the politician, not the politician influencing us of what is in our best nature. We have to constantly tell them what is in our best interest because we pay their salaries. They work for us. We don't work for them. And if we do, then it's because we allow them to do this and put us in a situation that they're always doing us a favor when they support something that's in our best interest. No, it's the other way around. When you don't support what's in our best interest, we vote your butt out. Okay?